The boxes in my new living room were still taped shut. Down the hall, my 4-week-old daughter, Maeve, was asleep. And in the spare room, a different kind of quiet. Then my phone rang. It was my mother, Carol. No congratulations on the house. No asking about the baby. We're moving in tomorrow, she announced. I don't do rules for my grandchild. Your sister's family is coming, too. Don't like it? Leave. Leave my house. She thought she was talking to the family helper. The one who folds, who soothes, who makes room. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just looked down the hallway toward the spare room. Okay, Mom, I said. Come at noon. I hung up. What she didn't know, her own mother wasn't gone at all. She was waiting. In my family, I was handed a role before I could read, the helper. My sister Stephanie got the weddings with 200 guests and husbands who introduced themselves by their financial returns. I got the apron. When I walked into Sunday dinners, my mother would hand me a stack of plates before I even said hello. She'd pat my wrist and tell the room, Danny is so good with the dying. Not everyone is cut out for more. I never argued. I just cleared the table. That reflex to stay quiet followed me into my 30s. When I found out I was pregnant, the man I was with proved he wasn't ready by leaving. I worked my hospice shifts, ate standing at the counter, and assembled a crib in a silent apartment. I didn't break. I just stopped waiting for anyone to arrive and arrange my life for me. I bought a house. A small, bright place with deep windowsills, paid for entirely by my own nerve, but I didn't move in alone. Down the hall, in the spare room, was my grandmother, Ruth. The family had declared her too far gone to know anyone. But I had seen the truth, and I had brought her home in secret. When my mother called to demand my house, she was operating on an old script. They thought the apron meant I was soft. They thought the new house made me weak. They were about to find out what happens when the helper finally stops helping and starts watching. I moved in to help after my grandmother's fall. The first night, I sat at the kitchen table to set up her weekly pill organizer, the way I'd done for 100 hospice patients. I read the labels. Then I read them again. There was a benzodiazepine prescribed for agitation, at a dose I wouldn't give a woman half her age. Stacked right on top of it was a strong anticholinergic. In the medical world, we have lists. Long, boring, life-saving lists. They exist for one reason, to keep this specific combination away from an elderly body. Given together, they don't just cause drowsiness. They turn a sharp, lucid mind into thick, unbreakable fog. I looked at the blue plastic box in my hands. Then I looked at the calendar on the wall. The pattern snapped into focus. My grandmother was at her absolute worst on the days that mattered. Before a doctor's appointment. Before a notary arrived to witness a signature. On ordinary afternoons, when no one was scheduled to visit, she could sometimes follow a whole conversation. Dementia doesn't check a calendar. But a schedule does. I didn't rip the box apart. I didn't call anyone screaming. I did what my training told me to do. I watched. I went slow. And I made a plan. I called a geriatrician I trusted, laid out the drugs dose by dose, and we carefully tapered her off the poison. 2 weeks later, she asked for tea. Specifically, the loose-leaf kind. Then she looked at a photo and named everyone in it, including a dog we'd had in 1991. I held my breath, staring at the empty blue organizer. This wasn't medicine for a slipping mind. This was a leash, and things with schedules have authors. Medical intuition wasn't enough. I needed proof. I started with Brenda, the home health aide. I didn't accuse her. I brought her coffee and told her she wasn't in trouble. Over the kitchen table, she pulled out a spiral notebook. She had logged every dose, every time, in her own handwriting. In the margins were notes she was told to follow: give evening dose early on visit days. Keep her calm before the appointment. Next came the paper trail. Once I knew what to look for, the documents left a path. A power of attorney granting Trevor control. Investment accounts moved into funds he managed. A quiet, ugly arithmetic. When I finally added it up, it was $412,000. Her life savings, drained in increments from a woman who couldn't name the day of the week. I didn't confront them. I found an ally. Joan Petrillo, an elder law attorney with a voice like a closing door. I sat across her desk with my grandmother, lucid, dressed, and furious in a quiet way. Joan turned to Ruth first. "Mrs. Calloway, are you of sound mind today, and do you wish to revoke this power of attorney?" "I am, and I do," Ruth said. She signed it with a steady, competent hand. Joan laid out the plan: freeze the house sale, void the transfers, report to Adult Protective Services. "You don't confront them," Joan told me. "You build it. Then let the paper do the talking." I looked at my notes, the notebook, the bank statements, things with schedules have authors. And I was finally reading the signature. I was helping Stephanie load donation boxes in her garage while Trevor was traveling for work. A cheap burner phone fell out of his coat pocket and lit up on the concrete. I am not proud that I read the screen. It wasn't just numbers. It was a whole separate life. Another woman, funded by my grandmother's stolen savings. Above me, Stephanie was humming in the kitchen. My stomach dropped. I slid the phone back into the exact pocket, hung the coat, and walked out without a word. I held the receipt that would destroy her marriage. Part of me wanted to drop it on her kitchen table and watch it land, but there's a difference between justice and revenge, and the difference is who you're willing to wound. I wouldn't use my sister as a weapon. She deserved the truth told properly, privately. I had a plan, and a calendar of my own. The doorbell didn't ring. They never ring. The front door opened on the dot of noon, and they came in like weather. My mother first, a casserole dish in her hands like a flag of conquest. My father behind her. Trevor with his easy smile. Stephanie with the kids. They came in talking, already arranging my house out loud. "All right, everyone," Carol announced, sailing toward the hall. "Let's get the nursery sorted first, then we'll." She stopped. The whole parade stopped. The living room was not empty, and it was not a frightened girl waiting to be told what to do. My grandmother sat in the armchair by the window, dressed in blue, her hair done. Beside her sat Joan Petrillo, with a folder open on her knees. By the bookcase stood a woman with a badge clipped to her jacket. Ruth lifted her chin and looked at my mother with two clear, bright eyes. "Hello, Carol," my grandmother said. "Sit down, I sent the kids to the kitchen." Joan didn't raise her voice. She just placed the pages on the coffee table. The capacity assessment. The blue pill box. Brenda's notebook. 2 drugs no one over 80 should take together, given early on the days they visited. Trevor stepped in, smooth hands open. "This is absurd." She signed willingly. Joan slid the next folder. Bank statements. The power of attorney. The revocation in Ruth's steady hand. $412,000 leaving a 90-year-old woman's accounts. Trevor tried his reasonable voice. He talked about allegations and his compliance department. He looked to my father for backup. For the first time in 30 years, my father had nowhere to put his eyes. Joan let him finish. Then she tapped the date on the transfer. "This is the day you moved her retirement accounts. This is the day on her capacity assessment. Same week." The investigator by the bookcase wrote something in a small notebook and did not look up. My mother watched her write it. I saw the exact moment Carol understood that the woman with the badge was not a guest at a family disagreement. She was a witness at a record. My father set his thermos down. He didn't pick it back up. Carol's face did something I'd never seen it do. The hostess slipped. She looked at the pages, then at her own mother sitting upright, and the performance cracked straight down the middle. She didn't even know what year it was. Carol snapped, her voice shrill. "What does she need a house for?" The room went silent. The kind of silence with a floor that drops out of it. The investigator wrote something down, and my grandmother, Ruth Calloway, 90 years old, set her folded hands on the arms of the chair and pushed herself up to standing. "I knew enough to raise you," Ruth said, her voice even and unhurried. "I know enough now." The man by the door stepped forward and held out a thick envelope. "Ma'am," he said to Carol. This freezes the sale. My mother's face crumpled. The hostess was gone. The woman who wept at funerals and collected sympathy was gone. Only the fraud remained. She turned to me, eyes wet, flipping to her final script. After everything I've done for this family, she began, her voice trembling, I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I didn't list the years I spent carrying her plates or watching her poison her own mother. For 30 years, I'd waited for someone to defend me. It turned out I needed to stop being silent. You're not mom in this house, Carol, I said, my voice quiet but final. You're the woman who poisoned her own mother, and you're leaving. My father wouldn't look at me. He walked out with his eyes on the floor. Trevor was already on his phone, managing the next disaster. But Carol was the last to move. I held the door open. Not to let her in, but to show her the way out. The door is behind you, I said. The paper did the talking. A judge voided the transfers, and Trevor's spotless record got a permanent stain when his license was revoked. Stephanie came to my door alone one evening. I told her the truth privately, without weapons. She left him the next day. We didn't hug, but we started small. As for Carol, I see her twice a year. She never apologized. I never asked her to. I stopped needing that the afternoon I held my own front door open. That summer, the African violet on the windowsill finally bloomed. Ruth sat in the good light, holding my daughter, telling her long, looping stories. 3 generations, a full table, and enough tomatoes to give away. They thought I was good with the dying. They forgot I was watching the whole time. You don't need their permission to be worth something. You only need to stop handing them the pen. If you've ever had to take the pen back, tell me below. I read every comment.